Okie dokie, everybody. Welcome back. You're here at the Fox Den with Pater Voss, the Papa Fox, and we're going to continue playing Tyranny. When we last left off, we had made a few rounds of the Bastard's Wound, talked with Tidecaller Wagstaff, a few of the other denizens of the Wound, and now we're going to continue on this last little bit and finally talk with Jaspos, Master of Napping. But not the fun kind of nap, or at least not the napping that I wish I could do more often. This is actual stone napping. So, but stones don't take naps, but you can nap them, which is kind of interesting. Alrighty, how are y'all doing? Well, I'm hanging in there. It's been a rough week, and I'm looking forward to next week.
Forge-bound in the old walls seems a nerve-wracking place to work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Tomes. Let's take a look at what's in this barrel first. Some water. What's this? Like the forge-bound enclave at Lethian's Crossing, it seems these craftsmen have hewn and set the stones of the old walls into an admirable hearth. An iron warhammer. Still not as much damage as Tempest, so there we go. And let's go ahead and talk with Tomes. And he is just part of the Bastard's Wound, okay? The forge-bound apprentice stares intently at the amber hide he holds aloft, pounding its surface methodically with a heavy iron mace. The light from the nearby hearth dances across his eyes. As you draw closer, the pungent odors of tanning agents thickens in the air. He turns to you, wearing a stoic expression. Is there a problem? Do you need something? What's your role in this settlement? This is my third year apprenticing under Jaspos. Between that and trying to keep this settlement running, I'm never short on work. He flicks a chunk of animal fat from his belt buckle and glances around the chamber, frowning. Whenever I can, I slip away to the surface with the woundkin for a good hunt. Caves and hollows aren't meant for the living. I get my materials from the kill. Tusks for tools, hides for sturdy clothing. The rest goes to tents, cots, and we haven't even gotten down to the meat. The woundkin, they understand better than we do. I suppose I'm also a napper. Jaspos has to pass down his art, right? But everyone knows my passion and skill is in tanning. How has apprenticing for Jaspos been? Difficult. Don't mistake me. I pledged to follow him. My loyalty doesn't waver, but I damn well wish we had returned to the north as planned. Instead, I'm stuck inside these old walls, surrounded by Bane and branded as a traitor in Kyros's eyes. He scrapes a worn knife against the whetstone dangling from his belt. Jaspos didn't like my interest in leatherworking. I think he saw it as an insult to his craft. If I favored it so much, I should have sought apprenticeship with the Master of Tanning, right? Well, consider that another thing I planned to do had we returned north. Truth is, people need my skill with hides and pelts far more than my attempts at napping. Every time I clothe or feed someone and they thank Jaspos, he has less and less to say about it. Now that Argon's apprenticing with him, I think he's content to let me dabble in tanning. I'll talk to you later. Okay. So he's not too happy with Jaspos. Was there a thing we could... No, okay. Let's talk with Isley. And she is definitely with Jaspos. With a despondent sigh, the forge-bound smith unfastens the strap around one of her pauldrons and drops the metal appendage to the floor, exposing a muscular figure. She quickly traces a sigil with her ungloved hand and touches a hammer dangling from her smock, frowning as it stubbornly remains inert and unsympathetic to her magical entreaties. She glances up as you approach. Sorry, Fatebinder. My spellcraft hasn't been cooperative of late. I take it you're not here to talk about my preoccupations? Anything in particular you'd like to discuss? She offers a forced, polite smile, but can't maintain it for more than a moment. What do you do in the forge? I'm Jaspos's apprentice. Have been so for the last few years. She scoops up a small clay pot and spins it between her fingers. Oof, see me. Napping wasn't originally my specialty. I apprenticed under Master Erasma back in Lethian's Crossing, but a freak accident meant that she'd take her secrets of the ceramic arts to the void. Uh-oh. Jaspos had just finished his work and was returning north for more training with the guild, so I joined him. Long story short, we stumbled upon the wound and stayed, and I took on a new trade with Jaspos as my mentor. What happened earlier with the hammer? I was embarrassing myself again. Seems like that's my only reliable talent these days. Her cheeks grow flushed as she looks to the ground. I thought I was a competent napper, practically a journeyman in skill. Lately, even the smallest preparatory spells vex me, like that sorry display you witnessed. She raises her eyes to meet yours. Something about this place is hollowing me out from the inside. Whatever forge burns inside grows cold. Let's not speak of it anymore. You're becoming one of the sleepless, aren't you? I think I am. Started when I broke my hand under the mallet. A rookie mistake. I asked Reef Talon to heal it, but things have gone sour ever since. I can't sleep. Can't summon a sigil to save my life. Worst of all, She lowers her hand down to her stomach, frowning as she thinks better of saying more. I don't know how much time I have left. I just want to enjoy whatever last moments I have with Jaspos. Do you enjoy working for him? I do. Jaspos introduced me to napping, and it came easier than pottery, my first craft. If we hadn't fallen in love and married, whoa! I might have returned to the north and stayed in Kyros's good graces. She slowly nods, as if recalling a long-forgotten memory. I'll take my leave. Oh, okay. I just found a button to zoom in the camera. Oh, Argan. Argan? Argan. Whichever. A man clad in the frayed remnants of his Earthshaker uniform focuses intently upon dark stones, held in cupped hands. He eyes from one piece to the next. He hears your footsteps and shifts his gaze to meet yours. One moment. Wine.
Fatebinder, forgive me. I didn't see you. Jaspos has me performing these exercises to attune my senses, to see the shapes hidden within the rock.
Flustered, he quickly tugs on the hem of his shirt and straightens his belt.
I may not be with a disfavored anymore, but I still recognize a Fatebinder's authority. Is there something you need from me?
How does an Earthshaker end up in the company of this motley?
I'm the odd man out, I know.
He motions to his purple-gray garments.
After Cairn had been declared a criminal, Gravinash charged us with scouring the Archon's belongings and retracing his path. I was with the group headed to the Gates of Judgment. As we cut west across these mountains, we came across this place. Of course, any association to Cairn didn't make me popular with the Legion. Telesophia was all too eager to remind me that if Cairn's treachery were ever to come to light, all Earthshakers would likely be executed for assumed collusion. So, you'll forgive me if after stumbling upon the bastard's wound and facing insurmountable odds in battle, I decided to surrender rather than join my hateful companions in death. What do you think of the bastard's wound? I find myself at home here, even if everything about the old walls seems antithetical to life. If the bane don't kill you, the water will. Without Jaspos, this place couldn't exist. His eyes move from the churning water to the massive stone walls stretching towards the sky. The old walls have always been invigorating spaces for mages of my ilk. They're like untapped fonts of magical energy. And the ancient masonry, inspiring. What was life like to the people that shaped these massive walls? He shrugs, amused. You speak well of Jaspos. Jaspos is many things. Teacher, husband, companion. Argan's gaze turns thoughtful. He's teaching me to connect with the stone in a deeply personal way. Earthshakers manipulate rock, but we don't feel or shape them with the intimacy of the Forgebound. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, so interesting. Jaspos, master of napping. I'm always gonna get a kick every time I have to hear that or say that. Let's see if there are any secrets. No? Okay. A heavily muscled man stands next to a mixed pile of broken floor tiles, smashed boulders, head bent in focus, sledgehammer gripped tightly in both hands. Without breaking his gaze, he calmly extends an arm out as you approach, signaling for you to wait. In one smooth motion, he whirls the sledgehammer in a precise arc, effortlessly splitting a large green-gray boulder in two. He smiles and lets out a pleased chuckle before turning to greet you. One moment. Fatebinder. Or I should say governor. Conquest decision. Yeah, okay, cool. That explains all the ruckus I've been hearing. His voice is deep, a confident baritone. Oh, okay, so I should be a little bit lower. That easily carries through the open air. Forgive my rudeness. The masters of the craft rarely break focus if we can help it. Old habit. He smiles broadly, motioning you to come forward. Your arrival is unexpected, but my forge is always open to servants of the court. What can I do for you? Word has spread throughout the wound. They say the Fatebinder will permit us to live. I am sorry you had to experience Wagstaff. If you had spoken to me, we could have settled things without his insults and tantrums, but I'm glad an amicable decision was reached all the same. The wound could be a great asset to you in the future, Fatebinder. We've managed to well enough on our own, but someone of your prestige could really help us thrive. If you've the time, I have a matter that could benefit from your expertise. You may ask, but I make no promises. We don't have the luxury of trading with the topside. It could attract the wrong kinds of attention. Instead, we craft what we need. In my case, I can make a wide variety of tools, but I can't make everything. When we were building the forges of Lethian's Crossing, I had access to some of the finest chisels, tappers, and abrasives. I carried only my travel kit with me when I found myself here in the wound. I've been able to craft a few replacements, but to my chagrin, I haven't recaptured the craftsmanship. The napping tools needed are rather specialized, and I lose sleep knowing that I can't replace anything I break. Since I've been missing, I imagine my tools were appropriated by my colleagues in Lethian's Crossing. Lohara will no doubt know of their whereabouts. With my old tools, I could really stay on top of the work that's needed to keep this place running. The Forgebound were uncooperative and have left Lethian's Crossing. He raises an eyebrow. I see. That's an unfortunate loss, but we can always rebuild the guild's presence in the tiers with more cooperative leaders, like myself. As for the tools, they may have been left behind. They were quite specialized, and Lohara may have opted to clean out the forge equipment with local peddlers. Perhaps if you can speak with the merchants in town. I'm sure this will be a simple matter for you, Fatebinder. Thank you for your assistance. Is there something else you needed? Okay, now we get into the talkity-talk-talk-talk-talk. What do you do here as one of the wound's leaders? I don't look the part. Most of my guild huddled by the heat. Okay. Perhaps that's better. He unfastens a rag loop around his belt. Okay, yep. Obviously, he works the forge. That means everything. Those bridges you see, my handiwork. Knives and weapons, everyone's... Okay, cool. So he makes everything for everybody. Most importantly, I created the stone sieves that clean the water. Okay. How do the sieves work? Trade secrets, I'm afraid. He pauses for a dramatic effect. Except for members of the court, it's really a matter of using the right combination of enchanted stones, pulverized charcoal, and a few precious stones in a precise arrangement. As a sieve. Okay, cool. Great. Yeah, click, continue. Now, the place isn't exactly bursting with precious stones, so I had to devise a substitute. Beastmen, claws, and teeth, when properly prepared, have the properties I need. And since they regrow over time, I've been able to collect donations from our many warriors. Okay, cool. What does a master of napping do?
I sleep all the time.
I shall tell you. He places a hand upon his belt and runs a finger across the many hammers, chisels, and picks draped across his waist. Stopping at a simple stone hammer. Masters of napping focus on the fundamentals of all forge work. Before you can make bronze and iron, you need a hot fire in a controlled space. You need a stone forge. He grips his belt firmly, puffing out his chest slightly as he speaks. Give me a few days, and I can make a pile of rocks and fashion you proper stone hammers and tools. Give me a few weeks, and I can use those tools to build a worthy forge. And with that forge, I can create anything you'd ever need. Stonework is the purest form of our craft. Civilization could be reduced to ashes, and a master of napping would be the one to reforge it. I have a feeling... Yes, it might be advantageous to side with Wagstaff, but since we kind of jilted the Forgebound, if we can get him on our side, outfit our troops, that would be wonderful. Tell me about the Tidecaster Wagstaff. You should know Wagstaff and I aren't on the best of terms. He's old, set in his ways. I've tried, believe me. I've reached out, invited him to share my fire and talk like men, but he's the sort that prefers his own company and ideas. He doesn't seem to care about the people the way I do. In fact, I think he views us as irritants one must endure. That sounds like the Wagstaff I remember. Apologies for what you must be going through. He sighs loudly, shaking his head with an exasperated smile. He does help the wound, I'll grant him that, cleansing water with his magic. His methods are different than mine, of course, far slower. He thinks his contributions are more valuable since they can combat disease, a valuable tool for certain. But without the volume of water produced from my stone slaves, the settlement would die in a span. Refuses to accept his role has changed. He helped the wound get its bearings years ago. He's not qualified to lead. Okay, cool. What do you know about Reef Talon? Unfortunate thing. Okay. Whenever she fled, I didn't stop her from devouring the bane. It didn't stop her from devouring the bane. She was good at it. Good enough to lead the beastmen, but Reef Talon had something else far more important. She could heal others with a mere touch. How did she do this? It's no ordinary magic. I don't think she knew herself. She wasn't a student of her craft, not even using beastmen mystics as a standard. What I do here, that's not an accident. It's years of controlled study and meticulous perfection. Reef Talon simply acted on instinct, and that didn't work to everyone's benefit. Okay. Sometimes we're better off without miracles. Healed slowly, turned him into the Sleepless. Slowly lose their gifts. Now they're just known as the Sleepless. Oh, okay, cool. She fled into the old walls like a coward. Circles of Pathfinder. I think that many here saw her as a leader. What leader runs in the face of adversity? Those of us that remain, we are the ones that continue to hold up the bastard's wound. I toil every day to make the fires, to keep the fires of my forge running, and the people can see who they can truly rely upon. I don't like what he's talking about for Reef Talon. She obviously, I think, was trying to save everybody by leaving. But he also makes a good point. He is literally making the things that people use day to day. How do you feel about the Bane? Beastmen, okay. And they turn civilized-ish, or at least less of their culture-ish. Okay, farewell. Safe journeys. Let's check. See how much time we have left. I think we're going to call this an early episode. If you've enjoyed, go ahead and hit that like button or give me some feedback if you prefer. Of course, as always, if you enjoy my other work, then a subscription to the channel would be greatly appreciated. It's great to see you all here at the Fox Den. I hope you come back next time and pull up a chair for some more tyranny. Alrighty, y'all take